Listen to the story. Find out the nationality of the people and their relationship with Jimmy Capaldi. Use the keywords in the box.
It had been a beautiful sunny day in Marbella. Everything was quiet and relaxed at the luxurious Capaldi mansion. There were quite a few people at the Capaldis. Let's have a look at the people. First, there was Jimmy Capaldi. He was the mysterious American millionaire who had lived in Marbella for years. He had made his fortune years before, but had had to leave the States. Some people said it was because of connections with the mafia. But you know what people are like. His wife Susan was also American, a rather nervous person. She never looked very happy in that big Spanish villa. Susan and Jimmy had 2 children who were staying with them. Jimmy Jr. was in his 20s and didn't seem to have a job. Playboy was his occupation, I suppose. He was certainly good at spending money and was always asking his father for more. Stephanie was the youngest. She had recently met a young Spaniard called Jaime Peñafiel. He was from a good family, was clever and good-looking, but he didn't have much money, and he didn't like Stephanie's father too much. Right, that's the family. Now let's have a look at the visitors. First we have Bruce Maxwell from Australia, one of Jimmy's business partners. Then there was Lady Julia Hamilton from Bath in England. Sounds very aristocratic, doesn't it? But she worked for a magazine about famous people. She had just finished some sort of biography about Jimmy Capaldi. Now for the staff. Well, there was old Dr. Papadopoulos from Greece, the family doctor. He was more like a friend of the family. He'd known the Capaldis for years. And there was Williams, the butler. Very, very British. And a real butler, you know. You could never know what he was thinking. Who else? Let's think. There was the cook, Madame Lebrun from Paris. What a cook. And there was young Brigitte Müller from Germany. She was Jimmy's personal secretary, a very clever young woman. Well, I think that's about it. As I was saying, it was a beautiful summer evening in Marbella, and everybody was relaxing. Oh, sorry, Jimmy Capaldi Sr. wasn't. He was working in the library. Everybody else was relaxing, and everything was quiet and peaceful, when everybody heard a shot coming from the library. They all ran to the library. There was Jimmy Capaldi Sr. lying on the floor, dead. Next to him was a gun. He had shot himself. Or somebody had shot him. Now you've heard the story. Have you any idea who did it? Let's think. Susan Capaldi couldn't be the murderer. She was his wife. But am I so sure? Did she love her husband? Or did she love somebody else? And his daughter, Stephanie. I'm sure she loved her father. She can't be the one who did it. What about the staff? Brigitte Müller might have killed him, but why? She was only his secretary. And Williams? Well, Williams may know who the killer is. Butlers always know what's happening. Now the visitors. Bruce Maxwell loved guns. I suppose he could have shot him. But what motive did he have? Ah, I've forgotten someone. What about Jimmy Capaldi Jr.? He wanted money all the time. Yes, that's it. I think Jimmy Capaldi Jr. must have done it because he wanted his father's money. What do you think?
Listen to Inspector Garcia checking the statements of 4 of the people. Match their names with the places on the plan. Interview 1.
Right. Could you please sit down, Mrs. Capaldi? I'd like to check your statement about last night.
Certainly.
You were in the drawing room reading a book, weren't you? But I saw a letter on the table when I came in addressed to some lawyers. About a divorce, maybe.
Yes, you're right.
Aha.
I was writing a letter to my lawyers.
Very interesting. And you could hear the butler opening bottles next door until about 9:15, couldn't you?
Yes.
And at 9:25, you heard someone in the hall, didn't you?
That's correct. At about 25 past.
Thank you, Mrs. Capaldi.
You're welcome.
Interview 2.
Now, Doctor, you were fishing at the pond, weren't you?
That's right.
And at about 25 past, you saw someone in the library with Mr. Capaldi. It was a woman, wasn't it?
Actually, I can't see very well. Maybe it was a man.
Aha. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Interview 3.
Right, Miss Muller. You didn't hear anything, did you?
No. I was watching a football match on TV, in the TV room.
In your statement, you said it was a tennis match. You weren't watching the TV, were you, Miss Muller?
You know, I wasn't feeling very well. And I went upstairs for a bit. And then I heard the shot.
Fascinating. Thank you, Miss Muller.
Interview 4.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. You were cleaning your car, weren't you?
That's right.
At about 9:15, you saw a tall person in the library, didn't you?
Well, maybe later at about 9:25.
You didn't go into the library, did you?
Of course not.
Listen to Inspector Garcia checking information and complete the questions in your book with question tags. 1.
You were in the drawing room reading a book, weren't you?
2.
You could hear the butler opening bottles until about 9:15, couldn't you?
3.
At 9:25, you heard someone in the hall, didn't you?
4.
You were fishing at the pond, weren't you?
5.
It was a woman, wasn't it?
6.
You didn't hear anything, did you?
7.
You weren't watching TV, were you?